Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you, the DU Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast. My name is John Gordon. I'm Senior Communications Specialist here at Ducks Unlimited, and among my jobs, I'm a producer of Ducks Unlimited Television. And my guest today is really an integral part of the show. She's been behind the scenes helping us out with our firearms in the past, and then she's been on 2 episodes before, one in the Great Salt Lake and one on the Snake River in Idaho. Please welcome Shaundi Campbell. She's the Media and Events Manager for Browning Arms. Shaundi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, we're great. You know, it's only about 100 degrees in Memphis, so it's a little warm, but I bet it's pretty warm and up in your part of the world as well.
Utah, yeah.
Utah, that's it.
You know what? It hasn't warmed up here. I was wearing a coat on Monday, and we're just waiting for our 8 weeks of summer now. So it's kind of been a weird year for us.
Wow, wearing a coat. Yeah, I think you die down here in a coat, I do believe. So anyway.
Yeah, I hear it's bad. Like, you can't breathe out there, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it feels almost, it's oppressive, really. You know, you can't go anywhere without sweating bullets, and it's just tough to deal with. But we're muddling through. Just waiting for waterfowl season, right? I mean, the new episodes of DUTV are about to come out in July, and we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a really exciting season. Like I said, once again, I'd like to say thank you to Browning, both on the arms and ammunition side, for really being such a strong supporter of Ducks Unlimited and of Ducks Unlimited TV. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We sure love supporting such a great organization. You guys are amazing to work with and do such great work out there for us. So.
Man, we appreciate it, and you know the co-hosts and everybody that's used both the Maxus, the Maxus 2 and the A5s have really loved them. I mean, they've been great additions to the show. We used some of the new ammo this past year, the Wicked Blend ammo, which is really good. And so, you know, I just wanted to touch a little bit primarily on your background and how you got involved in the industry and how you started working for Browning Arms.
So I don't know if you know or not, I'm kind of a 4-wheel drive junkie. So before I worked in the outdoor industry, I was involved in all things Jeeps and trucks. Anything with a motor was kind of my wheelhouse. After that, I kind of switched gears. I met a guy, kind of changed gears that way, but met a guy, moved down, and I decided a long time ago that I was going to love what I did. And so when I started looking for a new job, I decided that if I'm going to do something for 30 years, I'm going to do what I love. A job at Browning came up and I applied for it. Funny story. I didn't get the first job I applied for, but they called me back about 3 or 4 weeks later and offered me a different position. And from there, it has just blown up. So prior to being in the industry, I was a hunter. I had hounds, ran mountain lions, bears. I started big game hunting when I was 12, like you do here in Utah. I wasn't necessarily on the waterfowl side. My dad never did it growing up. But when I turned, I don't know, probably 16 or 17, one of his friends by the name of Bingham, he was talking to me about going goose hunting. And I said, hey, my dad doesn't do this. Can you teach me how to do this? And he says, yep, I'll pick you up at 4:00 in the morning. And I went, oh, what did I get myself into? 4:00 in the morning came really early that Saturday. And he took me out to the Bear River and I was able to shoot my first goose with a band. And from then I was hooked on waterfowl. So once I got into the position I am now, it became very natural for me to go big game hunting and then turn around and go waterfowl hunting. And I mean, I absolutely love what I do in the industry, and it couldn't have been a better fit for Browning and myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. It's and it's I would think it's tough from a standpoint of being a female to break into it sometimes, but I really see that's a really growing thing. You know, you've got a lot of females involved in the industry now, a lot more than it used to be, and I think it's a great thing. You know, we've had female co-hosts on the show, and they've got a new gal named Betsy Newble. She's doing some of the shows for us now, and it's really great. I think to have that more women are getting involved in the outdoors.
Yes, I have to agree. Even from when I started with Browning, it's really grown on the women's side, and I'm super excited to see it. I was super excited to be involved with Ashley a few years ago with DU. I think we did an excellent episode and had a ton of fun out there.
Oh, it was fantastic. I can tell you that both the episodes that y'all did were really high rated. Both at the Great Salt Lake, great little teal shoot y'all had out there. That was a really cool deal. And then there was my buddy David Harper on the Snake River. That was really unique, and I really think the chemistry between the two of you, really shined through and made those some great episodes.
Yeah, I would love to see the B-roll on that because in the background, I think we sang Hakuna Matata and a few other things. So, and we laughed the entire time.
That sounds about right. I need to ask Guy about where that B-roll is. I can go check it out myself. We could probably get some pretty good bloopers out of there. He's been doing that with the shows, really kind of adding some flavor to the end of every episode. Now he's kind of giving a behind the scenes look at them, and people have really enjoyed it. And I've seen the first two episodes, and those are both great at the end. It's they really give you a nice laugh to end up a show. This is the 25th anniversary, Shaundi, of DUTV. I've done several podcasts with different co-hosts from over the years, and people have been involved with the show, and it's something we're really proud of. I mean, it's the longest running waterfowling show. 2.5 decades. It's a pretty big accomplishment.
That is a big accomplishment. Congratulations, guys, and I think it gets better every year.
Oh, I appreciate it. I've worked really hard, basically trying to think about what would I like to see. Where would I like to see people go? What kind of hunting would I enjoy watching? And so I've really kind of used that as my template for putting episodes together, and I think people have liked it. I've been pretty pleased with it.
I think you've done great. I'm excited to see what you come up with this year.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good. But anyway, so we were talking about guns for a second. One thing that I've always been a huge fan of the Auto 5. Both of the first incarnation that John Browning built back in the early 1900s until the new one today. We use, I think both Fred and Doug shoot A5s on the show and love them. What are the real big differences between the old design to the new one?
Oh, there's quite a few differences. I mean, we still use the same inertia system that we had in the past, but we went from a steel receiver to aluminum receiver. It's kind of evolved with the hunter today that wants to pack the gun in a little bit farther than maybe our grandpas did or back then. But really, the new A5, it's not your grandpa's A5 anymore. The 100,000 round guarantee. We've had a few of those come back to us. It's cool to see. It's cool to see how they hold up. We used them on the Great Salt Lake in the salt for 2 days. I'm not proud of it, but I might have put that gun away without cleaning it all the way off. But I was able to take it out, a couple weeks later, and it never failed. So, and I'm sure that's how you guys have ran yours. They just never fail.
That's correct. Like I said, several people I know that are shooting them down here as well. They really do work. And that 100,000 round guarantee is, I think, the only one in the industry like that. I can't think of anybody else that offers that kind of warranty on a gun. It's pretty amazing, and Browning really stands behind their products. One of the A5s that really intrigues me as well, because I'm a 16 gauge fan, right? I mean, I own several, and I love the gauge, and I really am happy that Browning has really brought the 16 back. Because nobody else was making them, and now I've seen that several manufacturers are putting 16 gauge guns back in their lines because it's really gaining some traction. But I noticed for 2022 some really cool versions of the Sweet 16, because the first one was just, it was a beautiful gun, blue with walnut stock, but it's not really something that was a waterfowl hunter friendly. But it looks like y'all have added some guns to the line that are right up the duck hunter's alley.
Yeah, it kind of came in part by watching what our consumer was doing on social media. We started to notice that the Sweet 16 was in the duck blind and in the water, and kind of got intrigued by saying, let's see what we can do with a 16 in camo. So we launched the Mossy Oak Shadowgrass Habitat in Sweet 16 at SHOT Show this year, and it is flying off the shelves. It's been cool to see the transition between going from a 12 to a 16 and how many people get excited about using a sub gauge.
That's correct. And I've seen the 28 gauge make a huge surge. And I've always been a 28 gauge fan. My grandfather shot one for quail when I was a kid. So he taught me about a 28 a long time ago, and so I really like I love a 12 gauge, and me too. I'm a 10 gauge fan as well. It's the 10.
Yeah,
the big
what
10.
did you just get over there?
Yeah, I just got a 10 gauge. Yeah, folks, I just got a 10 gauge. Shaundi, I ordered through her from Browning, the gold light 10. Y'all are really, Browning's the only person that's really sticking with the 10 that I know of. The only company. It's I don't think anybody else makes a 10 gauge, and you've got the semi-auto and the pump gun.
We do, yeah. And that's another one we can't keep in stock either. I don't shoot a 10 very well because, ow. But
well, I tell you, the gold light is really, for anybody that wants a 10, I'm going to attest to this, that the gold light really has less recoil than a light 12 with a 3-inch shell. It's a 10-pound gun, so it's not something you want to just, run through the upland fields with. But it's a specialized tool. And I'm going to tell you, from my experience, I had a BPS when I was a goose guide back in Texas, and nothing has the range of a 10. It's just if you're going to shoot big pellets, BBs, triple Bs, things like that, Ts, the 10 is the way to go because of the length of the shell, 3.5 inch to the bore ratio. It's really patterns a lot better to me than a 12 3.5. And so if you're going to go with a big shell at long range, the 10 is the way to go. And I'm really happy that y'all are still manufacturing them.
Well, me too, for you.
That's right.
And I can attest to it. I've actually never shot one, to be completely honest. I've never tried to shoot a 10. But
well, we need it when we get together in the hunting field. I'll make sure that 10 gauge is with me, and then you can cap off a few rounds.
Deal. I'll try it.
It's right. It's really an amazing gun, and I'm really excited to hunt with it this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Maxus 2, another gun we use on the show, and that's what are the real changes from the Maxus to the Maxus 2?
So we changed the ergonomics from the Maxus 1 to the Maxus 2, and we also gave it a magazine cap. We found that people like the versatility of the magazine cap instead of the lever that we had used before. But now, if you pull up the Maxus 2, you can tell a big difference between the ergonomics. It pulls up smoother, faster. I actually, as soon as they came out, I bought a new one because I needed it. I keep telling myself that I need all of them, but
exactly.
Yep. Yeah, they're a great addition. We've had great luck with the Maxus 2. I know you guys have used it a lot too, correct?
We have. I took a Maxus 2 with me to California last year and shot it on Sassoon Bay for divers out there, which was an incredible adventure. I highly recommend it. People think about California and the San Francisco Bay system, and nobody's thinking about waterfowl. But the numbers of divers out there, bluebills and golden eyes is unbelievable. I mean, and there's just really nobody there. There's nobody else hunting, and it was really an incredible deal. But I was using the Maxus 2, and it really performed well. Another thing, too, that you need to be noted about the Maxus 2 for snow goose hunters is the addition now of the cap to where you can add an extension to it versus where the old Maxus wouldn't do that.
Correct, yep. Are you guys planning on taking them on a goose hunt this year?
Well, there's no plans for it as of yet, but if I'll let you know, I'm assuming somebody's making an extension for it.
I believe Briley is. Yep.
Is it Briley? Okay. All right. Well, we'll if we do any snow goose with the Maxus, we'll definitely have to put some extensions on there. Browning. I encourage anybody, especially gun nuts like me, to go to Browning.com and check out just the enormous amount of different firearms y'all manufacture, from handguns to rifles to shotguns. I mean, y'all may have one of the most complete lines of shotguns, I think, of any manufacturer. The Satori line alone is mind blowing of all the different models that are available.
I agree. I'm the 725 Satori and the Satori. It's big and it's for everybody. There's a sporting version, there's a trap version, there's a field version. We really tried to cover every possible avenue that our consumers would like. That's
the truth. I tell you that my next purchase, I got my eye on that. It's a Satori. I want to say it's a sporting clay model. It's got a 20 and 28 gauge 2-barrel set.
Correct.
And I thought, I think I need that in my life. I mean,
that
not
one
that
just came out at SHOT Show too.
That's right. And I was really intrigued about it. I was like, well, that's really a 2-for-1 deal on that. And I love the 20 and the 28. So I think that may be the next order I have to place. But it's not just guns. I mean, y'all have really done an incredible job expanding into, your Wicked Wing waterfowl clothing lines, big game clothing. You've got a really good women's line in both your upland clothing and your shooting accessories as well. From lifestyle stuff, dog toys and purses and wallets and seat covers and trail cameras and safes. I mean, Browning is really, if you need something in the outdoor space, chances are Browning makes it.
You know it.
I mean, it's incredible because, growing up, Browning was a gun manufacturer. That's what I always knew, that, that was it. And y'all have done an incredible job of creating a line of products that really covers all the bases.
We appreciate that. We do try hard to cover it all. Like you said, from big game to upland, waterfowl, shooting, lifestyle, all of the things. If you want to wear a buckmark, you can find it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just like I say, encourage everybody to check it out. Another thing that I like is the addition of that vintage tan camo to the shotgun line. I'm sure those have been flying off the shelf.
They have been flying off the shelf. The minute we released that, it just went absolutely crazy. And you can find it in all things, clothing as well as coming out in the vintage tan. And I think it's that nostalgic thing. Like everybody goes, oh, I want to hunt with something that looks like what my grandpa did back in, 60s, 70s. I might have got that wrong, but sometime then.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, I see. What year did I start? 79, I think, was my first year in the field hunting ducks. And that was we really didn't have any options, and I was a kid too. You talk about no youth clothing, no youth guns, no youth anything. I mean, I was wearing waders 5 sizes too big, a jacket hand-me-down. It was, but that camo in that tan and there was a green version as well, was really basically what you had to choose from, unless you went with like old military tiger stripe from Vietnam or something like that. Mossy Oak really changed all that landscape when they came out with Bottomland and their subsequent patterns, and it changed the landscape of it. But I think you're right. Waterfowling has such a huge historical factor to it, and the fact, like you said, people's grandpas use it and everything, and so that vintage tan has a real appeal to folks, especially in my age range, that hunted with it. And what's old is new again. Exactly.
Kind of like the Bottomlands OG. I mean, that is really going to come back too.
That's making a huge comeback as well. I've seen it in across the board. Different manufacturers are putting out the original Bottomland in guns, clothing, bags, gun cases, all of it. It's just, and one thing, it's an appeal to the history, an appeal to the past, and people are really romantic about it, right? So they really are eating that kind of stuff up.
They definitely are.
Talking about the past, I just want, since I've got you on here and you work for Browning, I just wanted to cover a little bit of the Browning legacy, so to speak, because I don't think a lot of folks, have ever really kind of, and I've been a student of John Moses Browning and his life, really, because he fascinates me, because I don't think he gets his credit because it was with firearms, that he was one of the greatest inventors that the world has ever seen. I mean, he was right up there with Edison and Ford and guys who, they made a huge difference on the world. And I don't think that people really realize what John did, both from a sporting arm and a military arm standpoint.
I'd have to agree with that. Yeah, the history of John M. Browning is so in depth, and the patents and stuff that he came out with changed the world as we know it today.
That's right, and I'm not sure that the United States and the Allies would have won World War I or II convincingly without John Browning's help. I mean, he really. Just at the behest of the U.S. government, he designed the BAR, the Browning Automatic Rifle, the 30 and 50 caliber machine guns, the 1911 handgun, which to this day stands as as the great handgun design of all time. All this stuff people don't realize he created with no blueprints in the turn of the 20th century. Basically, they just all came out of his head. And it's fascinating, the genius that the man had and he possessed, that to make some stuff that's lasted so long.
It really has. And I don't know if we're lucky enough to be in Utah, where the museum is. It's about 30 minutes from where I'm at currently. But if you ever get the chance to go through there, there's a gun that stuck out to me inside of the museum that it shows how he thought to use the inertia power And it was actually because he was shooting in some tall grass and saw that there was energy there that could be used and stored. And that's fascinating to me. Like, how would you? I would have never thought of that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would have.
Yeah, well, I don't think so, because John thought in just differently from everybody else. You know, he could see things in his mind. It was obvious. And there's a couple of other characters that in John's story that people don't, I think a lot of people haven't heard of. It's his brothers. I mean, it was his brother Matt was really had a huge business acumen. He was a great businessman and really made Browning Arms what it is from a business standpoint. And then his brother Ed was a master machinist. And basically, John and Ed would sit down in the shop, and Ed would create these guns with John's specifications, and with John standing there beside him going, it needs to be like this, that, and Ed would make all the stuff by hand. So it's an incredible story of the Browning brothers. And if anybody, and this, another thing, I don't think people realize that people probably thought that John Browning was a trained engineer. John Browning basically quit school at 15. He only had about an 8th grade education.
Correct.
So this was all out of his mind. I mean, that was it. I mean, so I can only imagine if he was alive today, what he could create. It would have been just really fascinating to just be able to sit down and talk to him and figure out what his process was.
Right? Can you even imagine if he had a computer? Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're right. I mean, CAD. I mean, what could a man like that do with CAD? I mean, he could literally have designed stuff that people would be. I just think that with him that the sky would have been the limit of what he could have really done, because and an interesting thing too that both Browning and Winchester are together these days. A lot of folks may not know that John really he changed the face of Winchester before there was ever a Browning company at all. His first single shot design became the 1885 Highwall. Then he developed the 1886 lever action gun for larger rounds like the 45-70 that no one had been able to figure out. Then it was the 1895. He had the 94 and 92 Winchesters, which became two of the most popular hunting arms of all time, especially the 94. I mean, think of how many whitetails have been hunted with a 94 Winchester. And those are all John's designs. He changed shotgunning with the 93 and the subsequent 97 pump guns were the first successful pump action guns in shotguns that also were used in war as well. 97 trench guns, things like that. It's just you can go on with how he really changed the face of not only firearms but of military weapons, and it was incredible. It
really was. And what we're still using today, we look at the SA-22 and the A5 and some of those designs, they're still used today. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's really fascinating that it all came out of one mind, that he was so prolific. Another thing that folks don't, I always wondered how in the world John went to Belgium. How in the world did a guy that was in Ogden, Utah, and then did a lot of work in Connecticut with Winchester, but how in the world did he develop a relationship with FN in Belgium? And it was a relationship he had developed with a guy named Hartberg. If folks out there may have never heard this, that Hart worked for Colt, but Hart was a European engineer. He was educated in Europe. He was born in America but educated over there. And developed and then went back after his time with Colt, and he had met John at Colt because John, once again, I think John had a relationship with every major manufacturer. Remington made Model 11s, which were made off the A5 patents. I mean, he just really had relationships with every major firearms manufacturer. And then Hart went back and worked for FN, and so John started making handgun designs with FN, and that's how that relationship all developed. And then, he subsequently made the A5s and the Browning high power 9mm for the French government. And so Hartberg was the guy that really introduced him to FN, and that's how he got over there. Because in those days, you remember, you had to get on a ship, right, and travel across the Atlantic to get to Europe. It wasn't like you were just jumping on a plane and going and checking things out.
It was very different back then, for sure.
It is. It is. Are there any new products you want to tell folks about, Shaundi, the stuff that y'all are really excited about?
Well, there's some new stuff coming out that I can't talk about, of course. But
yeah,
but
give me a little teaser or something,
I got to slip that in there a little bit. But No, we're super excited about what we've launched at SHOT Show. Everything is starting to deliver now. So you'll see the Sweet 16s and stuff on the shelves. Some of the vintage tan stuff starting to land now. We're really excited going into the fall with all the product going out right now. So it's gonna be a good year for sure.
Yeah, I think so. We're, like I said, I'm excited to get DUTV kicked off. We're going to Louisiana first, and then to Canada, and back down to Texas, and really once again just all over North America, really showcasing what Ducks Unlimited does on the ground, and the people who really support DU and make it all happen. So once again, we're so excited to have Browning as our arms and ammunition sponsor for the show. And I think it's going to be fantastic. And like I said, once again, we can't thank y'all enough for your support.
Thanks, guys. We sure appreciate everything you guys do. Even locally, we notice it as well. So it's not just a big corporation. You guys really have your feet on the ground for us.
Well, we try. Like you said, we've always put 80 plus cents per dollar donated back into the ground for wetlands and waterfowl conservation, and really been proud of that. And it's made a huge difference. I was trying to think, I couldn't even imagine, what the waterfowl population might look like if Ducks Unlimited didn't exist. I don't know if there'd be any ducks or geese left at this point.
Exactly.
It's just really a mission that I'm passionate about, and a place that I really love, and really feel real fortunate to, especially to be able to produce DUTV, a show I was a fan of right when I was a kid, and coming up, and now that I get to be behind the scenes, it's really cool. And deal with and work with folks like you, who've been so instrumental in it. It's really outstanding.
That's awesome.
Anyway, folks, this is Shaundi Campbell from Browning. She's the media and events manager. And once again, we thank you for being on the DU podcast.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for everybody listening to the DU podcast. Once again, if you want to see old episodes of the show, go to ducks.org. Go to the media tab at the top, pull it down. DUTV is right there. You can go down a rabbit hole of old episodes and watch the thing for hours. So anyway, folks, thanks for listening to the Ducks Unlimited podcast and supporting Ducks Unlimited, North America's leader in wetlands conservation. And as the late, great Wade Bourne used to say, more habitat on the ground means more ducks in the sky. I'm John Gordon, and thanks for listening to the DU podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit www.ducks.org/DU Podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.